Want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Trump just avoided an assassination attempt, but the first question we should be asking is, how did we get here, why, and where are we going? The first aspect of how we got here really has to do with the main fact that Trump has been demonized constantly by the media, but it's more than that. If you were to ask, I think, any conservative or any person on the right wing, a lot of people are confident that Trump is going to win the election, but a lot of people are doomsdaying and have doomsdayed about Trump potentially being offed, killed, assassinated far before his actual assassination attempt. In fact, even in my own personal life, I was meeting up with a buddy at a bar, and we were talking about the options the Democrats had to actually beat Donald Trump. And there weren't too many actual options, and especially when you look at the electoral math as time goes on and Biden continues to do worse. Even though Biden seems to be the best candidate to beat Donald Trump, the reality is that Biden's chances of winning are slipping away. So if you are in power and you're nervous about Trump winning, assassination is actually a pretty common topic, which sounds crazy to think that that's where we are in our political cycle, or our political reality in America, but it's obviously real because it happened just yesterday. So I think the reason that it happened had to do with a lot of the mythology that we've not only seen in the media cycle, but then also if you look at any kind of story arc, and this is going to sound cheesy, but a story has to complete itself. So if you guys remember when I was talking about why DeSantis would lose the primary, DeSantis lost the primary because really the story of the current election cycle, especially in the American psyche, has nothing to do with DeSantis or even Vivek. Everything's about Donald Trump. And since 2015, since he stepped on stage, we're in kind of this Trump arc. First, he wins, defying odds, beating Hillary Clinton. Then he loses in 2020, potentially is going to jail. So now we're in this like redemption arc. And so for the Trump movement to either win or lose, there has to be some conclusive ending. Things don't fizzle out in human history. So Trump either has to completely dominate and win, which is one option, or he needs to lose in such a way that the movement is crushed. And obviously assassination was an attempt of that, even though it probably would have started, I don't know if I'd call it a civil war, but there certainly would have been civil unrest and probably even increased the anger among, you know, the MAGA and kind of center-right movement. The idea is that you would have crushed the political figure who then started the story, and it would have been the end to Donald Trump as not only a person, but as a politician. But the biggest question, I think, is where do we go from here? Now, if you're thinking from the dynamic of power politics, let's make some assumptions. So I'm going to assume, based on the facts and data that I have now, that this was planned out by somebody. I don't think it was a lone wolf. I don't think some of the generalities we saw around the stadium were just incompetence, although that is very popular, and incompetence, I think, is an okay answer. I do think it was planned. Who it was planned by, how they planned it, I'm not entirely sure, but here's what I do know, is if you do plan something as risky and bold as trying to off somebody like a potential future president of the United States, you can't miss. And they missed, which means now they actually have to double down on their strategy. My guess is there will be another attempt on Donald Trump's life, because if Donald Trump does win, you can't risk him finding out who is behind this entire power structure that let this attempt on his life go into play. It's just too risky and it's too bold of a move. So what'll be interesting to see is then how Trump responds, because now if you look at Reagan, for example, when Reagan had an assassination attempt, his poll numbers jumped by about 20%. When Theodore Roosevelt also had an attempt on his life, his poll numbers jumped around 10 to 15%. So now Trump is a martyr, and any chance that he had martyred, also, by the way, doesn't mean he has to die. Any chance that he had of losing the election before this event has now decreased substantially. So now they're really stuck and painted themselves in a corner, because now beating Trump fair and square in an election cycle is further and further away. And the fact that he handled this attempt on his life so well also goes to show the strength and dynamics about Trump as a person and as a character. I think it was Bill Clinton who stated that strong and inaccurate is always going to beat weak and accurate, meaning that really the facts and knowledge that one might have really doesn't matter if you don't have the confidence to say it. Americans and people in general would rather there be a confident voice lying to them than a weak and feeble voice telling them the truth. All this to say is it's working against Biden's favor. Biden can't even beat a pair of stairs while Trump is able to literally beat a bullet. I mean, the comparison is pretty incredible. Now, if we look at what I like to call mimetic momentum, which I've talked about in previous videos, now the mimetic momentum is completely on Donald Trump's side. And it sounds cheesy to measure political movements in memes and mimetics, but that's what mimetics is. Mimetics are condensed ways to form and look at energy in a political cycle, which is why now there's political strategists like myself who literally analyze memes to look at movements. So if I were to judge the current MAGA, Donald Trump movement, whatever you would call it, whatever the term is, it's probably at an apex right now. It's drawn people from a moderate position who might have been too scared to say they were pro-Donald Trump, and now he is, I would say, completely normalized. We'd already seen this normalization process, I think, happening. The fact that Jake Paul and Logan Paul both like Donald Trump, the fact that now you actually had Elon Musk, who Elon Musk is kind of like a Joe Rogan type, where he's not viewed as completely right-wing. He's kind of like the smart person's moderate in like the American mind. The fact that Elon Musk is endorsing someone like Donald Trump now after the attempt on his life shows you that now Trump is a easily acceptable person to be around. He was just on the All In podcast, which is, I think it's about 5 tech CEOs, some of which are pro-Trump, some of which are anti-Trump. But this is like a very normie podcast for like tech bros. Kind of like The View, but for dude is how I would portray it. But now people on the All In podcast actually had him on. I think it was about a month ago. And what's funny is Trump even controlled the dynamic of that podcast because they had to dress up for him, whereas traditionally they don't dress up for anybody. Trump is going to be speaking at Bitcoin Nashville. So now he's trying to clinch like the Bitcoiner vote, although a small percentage has brought in a lot of money and once again normalized him in the libertarian crowd. It also helped that he went to the Libertarian Convention, which had boos and yays and all kinds of stuff. But with this momentum tracking, the attempt on his life has now just increased his momentum exponentially. And so every move he does from here on out is going to be exponential when it comes to energy and momentum. Like if he does another rally, it's not just going to be viewed as another rally. Every rally he does from here on out is going to be viewed as a, wow, I can't believe he's brave enough to go out in public still. And this is also the same thing, the same standard is going to be held for someone like Biden. Everything Biden does, they're going to compare it to Trump, not only post attempt on his life, but the fact that Trump still got up once he was shot in the ear, and they're going to look at Biden and say, hey, what's the alternative? Trump starts receiving intel briefings in less than a month. And I have a feeling that international leaders are going to start actually having meetings with Trump. I believe Viktor Orban is probably the first person to start meeting him, which means Trump is now going to start coalescing an international group of people around supporting him, which gets really tricky when you think of some of these dynamics, because once again, if you believe this event was planned, maybe it wasn't an inside job. It could have been a foreign country. And let's say it is a foreign country. I could name a few foreign countries that it might be. It might be China, it might be Venezuela, it might be Russia. But let's say, for example, it was a foreign country. Now we have to think about, okay, well, what does that mean for the international dynamics that Biden has to deal with right now and that Trump is going to have to deal with pre-election and then possibly post-election? So I think in the post-attempt on Trump's life world, the stakes are actually going to be a lot higher. Sometimes these events act as a pressure release valve on the American public because everyone's waiting for some type of friction. And I think the friction among a lot of Republicans specifically was that if you talk to any Republican, they were going to tell you, hey, I think there's going to be some attempt on his life. And self-fulfilling prophecy dictates that that will happen, and it did happen. But now the stakes are so high that whoever planned that attempt on his life is most likely going to have to plan it again. And this time they're going to have to guarantee that they don't miss. So I would not be surprised if this is actually just the beginning of the next political cycle, and that from here on out, everything else is going to be determined on this event. No one's going to care any longer about January 6th. No one's going to care any longer about Trump and his court dates. No one's going to give a crap about anything that Trump has done previously. Everything is now set from Trump's attempt on his life or someone's attempt on Trump's life, that moment going forward.